slow, easy, go easy recovery takes time.
Hi, Grandma. Thanks for letting us stay for a bit.
We're so happy that you're here, safe and sound.
Call me a bit woo-woo, but this place is different.
And there's an energy here.
What's wrong?
Oh my God. Christine! Christine! I saw something. There was someone.
It's fine. It's okay.
There's something wrong with this place. There's something bad here. I can hear it in the walls. It is in the earth. It is rot. There is an infestation. It's gotten to you too. Look at yourself. You're pale. You're exhausted. You're not acting right. Because
Because there's a witch living in the walls.
I have seen it.
You don't know what you're seeing!
Hush, little baby, the blackbird calls.
We need to leave.
Then you can't keep her.
Wait.
When the sun goes quiet
Mom?
and the nighttime falls.
Mom! Mom!
I'll hold you through the dark so deep.
Where's my daughter?
The winged witch is hungry and the Beldham never sleeps.
I'm gonna keep an eye on this, just in case you see any monsters under the bed.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of Fresh Cuts. This is Mike. Joining me as always, it's Mr. Venom. What's up, Venom?
Greetings and salutations, mothers new and old. Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. How the fuck you doing, Mike?
I'm doing good. Ready for the holiday weekend, which is coming up. Now we're recording on Thanksgiving Eve. And I guess for me, I'm kind of more excited for like Black Friday Eve and Thanksgiving, to be honest. But
I am not looking forward to Black Friday. Now that I'm back in retail, I'm dreading it. I'm actually dreading it.
the funny thing is, it's like half the stuff I'm looking at, it's like it's technically already on sale anyway. Black Friday is more like a 2-week thing now. It's not even the day. So,
where I work, it's actually the day. Like we've got stuff on the sales floor with its current price, and then on Friday we're changing the prices of a bunch of stuff. So yeah, like Black Friday for us is actually Black Friday. Like stuff goes down drastically, and then the following Saturday the price goes right back up to its regular price. So yeah.
All right. Also with us, it's Don and Ellie. What's up, Don?
Yeah, what's going on? Always happy to be here.
All right. So no theatrical release this past week, or not wide enough. And so we went to VOD and we landed on one called, I think it's the Beldham. I guess that's how to pronounce it. I mean,
The Beldham.
The Beldham.
Yep.
The Beldham. So H kind of silent. Okay. From IMDb. A struggling new mother fights a generation's old presence lurking within her family home, threatening her safety, her sanity, and the life of her infant child. If you watch a lot of horror movies, you could probably figure out what type of movie this is going to be just based off the synopsis, like what kind of subgenre it's going to be thrown in. But we will see how we all liked it or did not like it, or somewhere in between. So, Venom, give us your general thoughts on the Beldham.
This was an interesting movie because I really wanted to like it because throughout the first act of the film, it actually reminded me of 2020's Relic. Wow, and I can't believe that was 5 years ago already. It feels like it was just last year. But for those who don't remember, Relic was a movie that both Don and I raved about. Absolutely loved it. If I remember correctly, it appeared on both of our top 10s for 2020. Now, this movie, like I said, it tries to be Relic, and unfortunately, it kind of fails, sadly. It has a lot of the same kind of sensibilities that Relic did, you know, a multi-generational family of women, you know, dealing with some kind of supernatural event or perceived supernatural event. And with Relic, I remember that story being like so intelligently written, so well acted, well directed, that even though it was a slow movie, a movie that was so slow, I was actually shocked that Don loved it as much as he did, but it also made me very happy because of how much I liked it. But with this one, with with Beldham, it never really grabs you. Now, I will say that I enjoyed the third act because of its reveal, or I guess you could actually call this one a twist. This is a twist that I kind of saw coming, in the sense that it's in the general ballpark of what I thought was going to happen, but it did it in a way that I did not expect. And I'm just saying that it's not nearly as well written, well acted, well directed, well shot as, as Relic was. And I know I'm going to be comparing it to Relic a lot, so I'm sorry, but it's one of the only movies, at least recent movies, that I could think of that really kind of tackled this kind of subject, even though it's not necessarily the same thing, but it kind of is too at the same time. I know I'm being very ambiguous here, but obviously, for the sake of spoiling anything, I'm going to say that I enjoyed this movie, but I didn't love it. It's a little too slow for me. It doesn't really grab you the way it should. And then when the movie is over, I question why the hell the movie is titled this. Like, the movie starts with a definition of what a Beldham is, but then by the time you get to the end of the movie, it's like, well, that had nothing to do with nothing. It was something completely different. It was just kind of there to kind of throw you off, I guess. But for whatever it's worth, I enjoyed the first act, and I enjoyed bits of the third act. Like, I did actually enjoy the ending, and I actually really enjoyed the credit sequence, which we'll talk about later on. So overall, this is a movie that's a little too artistic for its own good. It's kind of overreaching, but it's not a bad movie necessarily. Yes, if you're a horror fan looking for a creature feature, the way the trailer kind of implies, you're going to be sadly disappointed. Sorely disappointed is a better way to put it. But if you're a fan of more psychological thrillers and things like that, then this movie might do something for you. Like I said, I enjoyed it. I don't love it. It's probably not anything that I'll return to, but for whatever it's worth, like I said, I will praise its twist, because I just did not see it coming in the way that it was presented to us. So yeah, kudos to the filmmakers for the twist, but unfortunately, I can't really praise too much else about this movie. So, at risk of giving away too much before we get to our walkthrough, I'm going to go ahead and end my general thoughts here and say that this one doesn't get a high recommend from me. But again, if you're a fan of psychological thrillers, if you're a fan of multi-generational movies where, a family of, three or more generations are dealing with some kind of perceived antagonist, then this movie is definitely going to work for you. Otherwise, I would say, there's probably a lot better stuff to watch right now. So yeah, good, not great. I'll leave it at that.
All right, over to you, Don. What do you got?
I'm kind of in a similar boat for a lot of the same reasons. I do, I do find a lot of the similarities to the Relic, patently obvious. The generational issues, even more so because of what goes on here with, it's a mother-daughter trying to, raise her new daughter. She's trying to, come to terms with being a new mother. The older mother is obviously there trying to establish what makes for a good mother, what makes for, a good sort of, parental figure, all of the, the different interactions that come along. But for me, I was kind of taken aback by two different things. One is this immensely bizarre and just out of nowhere sequence where I don't know how much we want to spoil it beforehand, but there's this one sequence where the mother acts just so completely out of character and just does one of the most I mean, it's not necessarily an unnatural thing, but she does this one. She does this one thing at the most inopportune moments and sees nothing wrong with it. Is never brought up again. Has absolutely no implications on the film other than to spark some kind of conflict between the two, and it just so completely off-putting that it kind of drags you out of the film for a little bit, and it just kind of detracts you from what's happening. And then the other thing for me is the finale, which I know Venom kind of praised. I'm going to say it's absolutely out of nowhere for a reason, because there's no build up to it. There's no logical there's nothing logical about it, and it's just absolutely a shocking twist for the sake of a shocking twist. I find very little about it that connects with the film as a whole, and I don't care for the finale. I don't think it's going to be something that really has a lot to there's a I don't really want to say too much because I know we're not there yet, but I guess what I'm trying to say is I know Venom liked the finale. I didn't. So yeah, for me those are the two big things. Like I said, it's just one sequence where it's completely random out of nowhere and has very little there's very little about it that just makes any kind of sense whatsoever, and I'm not a fan of the finale. So um yeah, I can't say it's an important watch. I can't say it's anything that's really urgent or necessary to see, especially this time of year where we're trying to start coming up with our end of year list. I think there's far better stuff out there that you can watch that we may have covered, we may not have covered, but I think there's other films out there that need your time more than this one. So yeah, I mean, if you've seen everything else and you want one more to pad your list, you could do worse than this because there's still a lot to like. But I do think that if you're looking for like definitive, surefire end of year material, I think this one's kind of a miss. But yeah, I mean, like I said, at the risk of not spoiling anything, I guess that's pretty much it. And I'll say back to you, Mike.
Okay. Um, I don't know. I found the movie kind of boring. I've just seen a lot of better versions of it. Um, yeah. I don't really have anything to add. The ending was kind of weird, kind of cool looking, but didn't make much sense to me. I thought the movie, I thought, yeah, they were like alluding to like maybe more going on than there was, and then it just kind of like felt familiar with a lot of other grief and dread movies, but nothing really original. It's just like a less good version of other movies, and I feel like we're getting a lot of these, like not just in this subgenre, but just in general, that just leave me kind of bored and uninterested. So that's what I felt this movie was. So that's all I got. Back to you, Venom.
Damn, I barely got a sip of my soda in. That was the quickest general thoughts I've ever heard. Um, yeah, I mean, let's not get it twisted. I was only praising the twist. I didn't really necessarily say that I liked the ending. I'm saying that it surprised me. And for this 55-year-old horror fan to actually be surprised by a twist ending, I gotta praise it. I gotta give it something. Like I said, I had an idea going into the third act what we were gonna get, but they just did it in a way that I wasn't expecting. That's all. So, and like I said, I got to praise a movie for that. I mean, I don't remember the last time a movie truly surprised me. You know what I mean? So, but for whatever it's worth, I can't disagree with anything that's already been said about it. It is a very slow movie. And if you're not into those slow burns, especially a slow burn that doesn't give you that much of a payoff at the end. Like I praise movies like Saint Maud because they are the slowest of the slow for the entirety of the movie, and then they give you just absolute insanity for the last 3 minutes of the film. And of course, we all know how much I love St. Maud, since it was my number one of the year that year. But the Beldham, excuse me, I almost said Bedlam myself. The Beldham, it's too slow for its own good. It's trying to be too artistic for its own good. It's trying to make a broad statement about something that, like Mike said, other movies have handled better. So I'm not 100% sure what they were really trying to go with here. And like I said, just the fact that the movie is titled this, and once we find out what a Beldham actually is, and then we realize that it has nothing to do with this movie, it definitely leaves you a little disappointed. So that's why I was saying the movie's good. It's not great. I mostly enjoyed it. It's even a stretch for me to say I liked it. For the most part, I had an okay time with it. It's only an hour and 25 minutes long, so you're not spending too much time in this world. But like I said, the movie's going to hinge on that twist. If you liked it, then you may walk away saying I enjoyed the movie, like I did. If you just find it stupid as all hell or predictable, then that's how you're going to look at the movie. So, as I've said before a million times, and as I'll say a million more times, all opinions are valid. And if you find this movie just dreadfully slow, I'm not going to argue with you, even though I myself didn't find it dreadfully slow, because for the most part, I was interested in what was happening. These aren't the most compelling characters ever, as I've already said, as opposed to the three women in Relic, who were just, incredibly, they just commanded your attention every time they were on screen. So again, sorry for the Relic comparisons, but yeah, when a movie like this comes out that just seems like it so clearly wants to be, a top tier film from 2020, but fails. I don't want to say fails miserably, but comes up short, definitely. It's going to leave you wanting more. And I mean, considering this thing sitting at a 5.1 on IMDb out of 10 right now, I can't disagree with that score. I mean, this movie is very solidly a middle of the road, maybe leaning ever so slightly towards the positive side of the road, but not by a lot. So, yeah. Not sure what else I can say. If my co-hosts have anything else they want to add, I'm sure Mike doesn't have anything else to add. But yeah, if anyone else has something to add before we get into what will probably be a fairly quick walkthrough, because like I said, it's a fairly predictable story. But then even once you get to that ending, they just did it in a way that it did go where you thought it was going. It just did it in a way that I had never seen before, and I appreciated that for it. So, anybody got anything to add before we get into it? I'm going to take the silence as a no.
Yeah, the only time I'll think I'll speak up is that one sequence I brought up earlier.
I think I know the one you're talking about, and it bothered me too, but let's see if we're talking about the same scene. All right, so our movie opens up with a definition of the word Beldham. And what is a Beldham? It is a witch. And more specifically, it's a bird-like crone who feeds on the souls of infants. That sounds cool, right? I mean, right from the definition, I'm like, all right, this could be interesting. Maybe it doesn't quite go that way. Basically, we've got, like I said, we've got the movie starts out with what seems like three generations of women, an older mom, like, let's call her grandma, the middle-aged daughter, and then the infant child. All right, let's talk about the rest of the cast as well. Our baby's name is Christine. That is, of course, Harper's child. She looks like basically a newborn, maybe a few months old. We're introduced to Bet, played by Emma Fitzpatrick. She is basically introduced as a caretaker for Sadie, but obviously that's not the case, which we'll learn a little bit later in the film. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, Corbin Burnson as Frank, who is Sadie's live-in boyfriend. They are not quite married yet, because Harper does make a comment in the film about how she's surprised that they're living together. So, as I mentioned, they're all here to help fix up this house, and so that Sadie can go ahead and sell it. Grandma, like I said earlier. And basically, as soon as Harper gets there, things start happening. She starts hearing footsteps. She starts hearing creaking in the house when no one else is supposed to be home. She thinks she hears voices at some points. And then as the movie goes along, we actually start to see something. We start to see a shadow creature that actually looks, it kind of looks bird-like in the sense that it looks like it's one of those plague doctors from like Victorian England that had that, you know, that long bird-like mask on their face. So it kind of looked like that. We do hear the voice of the Beldham periodically. I can't for the life of me remember anything that it was saying. I know at one point it was calling out to Harper, but that's about all I can remember, sadly. So, like I said, as the movie goes along, we get more and more supernatural events. Eventually, the Beldam actually it makes its presence known to Harper. But of course, again, no one believes Harper. Harper tries to tell Sadie, you know, her mother, that there's something wrong in the house, that there's something after her. Obviously, you know, stories like that. And this is the thing that always gets me about characters in horror movies. Like, do characters not realize how fucking crazy they sound? Like, even if you believe what you're saying, like, I'm sorry, but if I started seeing ghosts in my house, I'm not going to start telling everybody, oh, my place is haunted. You know, it's one of those things that people start looking at you with skeptical eyes and they start questioning your sanity and your intelligence and everything else. It's like, no, just I just kind of deal with it, you know? And obviously maybe that's decades of horror movies kind of training me to not let people think I'm crazy. Cause I'm sorry, if the fucking devil walks out of my bedroom, I ain't saying a word unless my wife sees it as well. If Mrs. Venom sees it, then I'll react. But if she doesn't, then it's just the devil walking around my house and I'm not going to react because I don't want to be sent to a loony bin. But anyway, again, I'm being too logical for my own good. So, like I said, Harper believes that this witch, the Beldam, is going after her daughter. More and more starts happening. Eventually, Harper starts to get violent. Not really ultra violent necessarily, but there is an incident with Bet where she accidentally stabs Bet because she thinks that she's being stalked by the Beldam. But then Bet walks into the room and she slashes her midsection with a knife that she's holding. That event right there ends up having her baby taken away. Basically, Sadie and Frank, the older couple of the house, decide to separate Harper from the baby. They take the baby away. They don't keep it in the house. They actually they basically tell Harper that she's safe and she's somewhere else. And they tell her, if you can go a week without any more incidents, without any more, you know, crazy events or you know, screaming in terror in the middle of the night, then we will reunite you with your daughter, which instantly makes you scratch your head. Like, what are the legalities of that? Like, that didn't even make sense to me. So obviously, as a seasoned horror fan, you know, you're watching this and you know that there's more to what's going on than what's being portrayed on screen. So it basically, Harper turns into a model house guest. She goes 6 days without any issues, no trouble whatsoever. But then on the seventh day, she basically, something happens where the Beldam again appears and actually kind of, I wouldn't say attacks Harper, but definitely becomes more aggressive than she has been throughout the film. I say she, the Beldam could be a he for all I know. They said witch. It's not like that you can't have a male witch, but whatever. The voice definitely sounds female, so I guess she is acceptable. And like I said, on that seventh day, literally at the end of that seventh day, like in the evening, she ends up again seeing this witch basically going after her, chasing her. At times, she feels like this witch is sending ravens after her because we see ravens throughout the film. Like, one raven ends up falling out of the air vent in this old house. Another one ends up smashing itself in the outside her bedroom window. So there's ravens throughout this place. So obviously, as the viewer, we're like, oh, these ravens are basically, you know, the Beldam's minions, if you will, or familiars, I guess would be the better word. But then we finally, and I'm skipping ahead, folks, obviously. I'm tired. I'm sure my co hosts are tired, so I'm going to skip through this. Basically, we get to our reveal. And what is the reveal? The reveal is that Harper is not a young woman. She is actually a senile old woman. She is actually Sadie's mother. Whereas all through the movie, we thought that Harper, and we see her as a young woman. Obviously, we see her the way that she sees herself, not the way that everyone else in the house sees her. And this is what I was saying earlier about how I knew the element of this movie, which of course is the unreliable narrator. When you're watching a movie like this, you know that it's going to be an unreliable narrator situation, which is what I fully expected. But I did not expect that Harper would actually be about 50 years older than she's portrayed throughout the entirety of the movie. And she's basically an old woman, like I said, because Sadie, we've called Sadie grandma throughout this entire movie, but she is actually the middle-aged female in this family. And there is no baby. As it turns out, Harper, our main character, lost a child when she was younger. When she gave birth to Sadie, she also had another child. That child ended up passing away. She couldn't handle it, so she ended up replacing the child with a doll. So she basically, all the scenes where we see Harper carrying around an actual human baby, it's actually old Harper walking around with a doll. Basically, she has a moment of clarity towards the end of the film where she realizes that, oh, I'm not actually a young woman who just had a baby. I'm an old woman who's literally at the end of her life and obviously dealing with dementia. Again, that's why the similarities to Relic are so obvious here, whereas Relic was that movie with 3 generations of women dealing with the oldest generation and her battle with dementia. We kind of get the same thing here, just not done nearly as artistically or flawlessly as Relic did it. So that's our big reveal. Yes, Harper is actually an old woman. Sadie is actually her daughter, and Bet is not a caregiver. Bet is actually Harper's granddaughter. But obviously, because of the family kind of playing along with this thing of Harper being a young mother, Bet can't introduce herself as her granddaughter. It wouldn't make sense. It's like, what are you talking about, granddaughter? I just had a baby. So instead, Bet is introduced as a caregiver. And once you get the reveal and you think back to some of the previous scenes, it really changes the context of it. Like when Bet is first seen by Harper, Harper's like surprised, instantly letting Bet know that, oh, she's in that younger Harper persona right now. She's not lucid right now, where she realizes that she's an old woman. So she goes ahead and plays along with the caregiver role. And then think about the scene, and I'm not sure if my co-host even noticed it, but when Harper first came to the house, we see Frank, Corbin Burnson, put his arm around her, and the camera actually zooms in on it. What's funny is that it almost makes it look like Frank is a dirty old man who's just kind of, overly flirty with his girlfriend's daughter. But no, once we get the reveal that this is not a young woman, it takes all of that away. It's actually Frank legitimately being concerned about this old woman not falling over or whatever, hence why he puts his arm around her waist. So, and there's other examples of that throughout the film, which is really some of the only stuff that I can really praise about this film, is that when you get that reveal at the end, it kind of changes the context of some of the scenes that we saw earlier in the film. Obviously, when I was talking earlier about the event that Harper went through, she was at a mental institution and she was just let go. Hence why the family is welcoming her back into that house. Harper, as young Harper, she thinks that this is a new house that she's never seen before. As it turns out, no, it's the house that she's known for many, many years that, her daughter has been trying to sell for a while now. So, like I said, again, now I'd like to say that the movie ends with some kind of big rousing culmination as far as what the hell the witch was for. But no, the movie actually ends very subtly with the family, all three generations of women in the garden behind the house, just kind of exchanging, laughs and things like that. So obviously Harper is lucid again. She knows who she is. But then there's the end credit sequence, which I really liked, and I don't know why. It would probably take someone smarter than me to explain the end credit sequence. But basically, we see the three generations of women, having laughs, whatever. But then suddenly it'll cut to young Harper by herself and sad in the exact same spot. And it'll do that multiple times throughout the closing credits. And I found that kind of cool how Harper, when she's lucid, she's surrounded by love and her family and everything that she needs. But when her dementia kicks in, she's alone. She's basically alone in the world, other than her perceived child, Christine, which is actually a doll. So yeah, like I said, not the most horror-filled horror movie I've ever seen. I actually struggle to even call this a horror movie, other than the fact that they do show us images of the witch, early in the film. But like I said, since the witch really has no bearing on this story whatsoever, other than just, I guess it's just a manifestation of Harper's fear that something's going to happen to her baby. But as we know from the twist, the baby's gone. Whatever's going to happen to that baby happened fucking decades ago. So yeah, there you go, folks. That's your movie. Like I said, not the most exciting thing, a slow burn with not much of a payoff at the end. But like I said, I will praise the twist because, as I've already said, I knew it was going to be an unreliable narrator situation. I just didn't realize it was going to be like that, where Harper's actually 50 years older than she's portrayed throughout the entirety of the movie. So I'll praise the movie for the one or two things it did right, but ultimately the movie does fall short, especially if you've already seen Relic. I would say if you've never seen Relic, but you actually do like psychological thrillers, go ahead and check out the Beldham first, then go back and check out Relic and see how Relic just did this story so much better, so much more compelling. As I said earlier, better acted, better directed, better edited. The score is better. The sound design is better. Like every aspect of Relic is better than Beldham. Even though Beldham is still a watchable movie for a lot of people, like I said, mostly people who like psychological thrillers. But otherwise, it's not something that I can really recommend to, my horror friends. So I guess that's it for me. Back to you, Mike.
All right. Yeah. What can I say? Yeah, slow burns are fine with me. I just felt this one. A lot of times with modern movies, we get the case where like a prototype or a model for a movie comes out, it's really good, and we just get a lot of like lesser versions of it, and that's what I think. Like, I don't think this is like a terrible movie. I actually think some of the acting in it is pretty good. Like, if you just take individual acting performances,
Definitely.
I just felt because these movies are like modeling and mimicking other ones like so on the nose sometimes that it gets to a certain point where I'm halfway in and I'm like, hey, I know where this is going. I mean, this one kind of had a twist, but for the most part, I knew where the story was going and it didn't deviate much of the way. So it's just kind of like going through the motions at that point. But I think your advice is good. If you haven't seen Relic, watch this first and then watch the better version second. And yeah, I guess I'll leave it at that. But we have some new stuff. The main show, 71, is up. Well, it's up on YouTube. I'm still waiting to get it up on the network where I'll make the official post, but anyone that listens on YouTube, it's already there. And I think that's it for me. So what do you got, Venom?
For Don and I, it's we're looking at No More Room in Hell presents Creature Comforts, episode 44. We looked at Devilfish. Yes, I can't even say Devilfish without a smile on my face because of Mystery Science Theater. But yeah, we did a feature review for Devilfish, and that episode. By the time you hear this, that episode will be available. I'm done. I'm done editing it. I'm just putting some final touches on the show notes, and then obviously tomorrow's Thanksgiving, so it's probably not going to go up before Friday anyway. But like I said, by the time you listen to this episode, Creature Comforts number 44 will be available. And that's about it for me. I do have one guest spot to talk about. I'm going to be on, once again, I'm going to be on the Joe Blow Horror Show a little bit later in it's either going to be late December or early January. I'm not sure what the topic is yet. I actually haven't been given my topic yet, but me and Cole have a good relationship, so he knows that whatever movie he gives me, I'm gonna do my due diligence and bring what I bring to most of the shows that I'm on. So hopefully, let's just hope it's a good movie. Cole's usually good with picking good movies for me, but yeah, let's see if that trend continues. I do have a tentative guest spot on Cut to the Chase in December for a Christmas episode. We haven't decided yet if it's going to be a Simpsons commentary, a Simpsons Christmas episode commentary, or if we're going to do an actual full-length feature. So we'll talk about that. And then I don't know if Mike or anybody else wants to talk about the fact that both of the hosts from Cut to the Chase will actually be joining us on the next main show. We're allowing them to pick the movies for that episode. So I would say fully expect 90s floating head movies, since that's what Dan and Lacey really, really like. But yeah, otherwise, that's it for me. Really, really hoping that we can get an episode of the Crystal Lake Gift Shop in before the year ends, just so that we can say we did 10 episodes before the end of 2025. But I won't hold my breath on that. Otherwise, that's all I have.
All right, what you got, Don? Anything new or else?
Yeah, like I said, other than Creature Comforts, the only other one that I have is my guest spot on the Joe Blow Horror Show. I joined looking in at Dead and Breakfast. So it was a lot of fun. And then I also did a spur of the moment guest spot on NFW where we looked at Black Friday. So that one was a lot of fun. So that one will probably be out probably after the titular holiday. I don't expect that to be the one going out, but other than that, yeah, that's pretty much all for me.
Is that the Black Friday Bruce
The
Campbell
one that we
movie?
did.
Yeah, the one that
Yeah,
we did on this show. Yep. Good.
Yeah.
Cool. I like that one.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything theatrical coming out this week?
Nope. Nothing horror.
Five
anyway.
Nights at Freddy's is next week, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah,
what I
and
figured.
I'm really looking forward to that one. We all remember how much I love the first movie, so yeah, I'm really expecting a lot from the second one.
All right. Well, we can cross our fingers on that one, I guess. But with that said, thanks for listening to another episode of Fresh Cuts. We'll be back with another one. Let's say bye to the listeners.
Later.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Don't eat too much turkey, but drink lots of liquor.
Peace.